My name is Victoria Benefield, and welcome to the second episode of The Deep End. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, The Deep End, Northwestern's best water-based comedy group, is a student-run show at Northwestern that conducts original investigative journalism and presents it informatively, comedically, and, according to our very own journalist, poorly. Our episode tonight will focus on the Course and Teacher Evaluation Council, also known as CTEX, for students who live under a rock, or, as I like to call it, Plex. CTEX are the official system for Northwestern students to review their teachers and courses. You know, CTEX, those things you filled out drunk 5 minutes before the deadline with your friend Greg. And by with your friend Greg, we mean alone. And by drunk, we mean sad. CTEX are also the source of such expressive poetry as this actual review. This course sucked the life out of me. The 3 hours each week felt longer than watching an amoeba evolve into baby Jesus. The teacher has a tattoo that says, "The kittens will die." That pretty much sums up his essence as a person. I mean, he's right. All the kittens will die. Now, we wish we could spend the rest of this episode reading more absurd CTEX to you because, wow, there are some standouts, including this review of an economics professor. He told us a story about a 3-legged pig. It ended with him eating one of the 3 remaining legs. But unfortunately, CTEX are more than just ridiculous pig stories. Our survey of 230 students revealed that over 61.5% of students spend less than 7 minutes filling out each CTEC. The fact that students clearly don't take these evaluations seriously is understandable, seeing as even Northwestern's institutions can sometimes treat them like a joke. This year, Wildcat Welcome made a hilarious video entitled "Teachers Read Mean CTEX." Now, before we show you this, I must warn you, it gets pretty frickin' vicious.
Watching all of Ilya's YouTube videos before the exams helped a lot because he's basically a god amongst men. I always thought of myself as more of a lion.
Right, so there's a lot to unpack there, but wait, guys, I finally found Waldo! Even though students in Wildcat Welcome may not take CTEX seriously, the people who make important decisions about professors' futures do. CTEX actually serve 3 important functions at Northwestern: to help students make enrollment decisions, to give professors feedback on how to improve their courses, and to help the administration decide faculty promotions and salaries. The problem is that asking one thing to serve 3 very different purposes is like asking for a significant other at Northwestern who's emotionally available, good at sex, and real. CTEX in their current form are incapable of adequately fulfilling all of these functions, and in fact they're so bad that Professor Claudia Swan, a professor on 2 separate committees to reform CTEX, thinks.
I want now to talk about abolishing CTEX.
So with that in mind, let's dive in. To begin, let's figure out what CTEX are, who oversees them, and what they are actually used for. CTEX are run by the CTEC office, which is within the office of the registrar, which is in turn overseen by the office of the provost. These offices are structured much like a Russian nesting doll, except instead of a Siberian grandmother on the outside, it is a very real Jonathan Holloway. There are 2 additional committees currently evaluating the state of CTEX: the Educational Affairs Committee, which is operated by the Northwestern Faculty Senate, and the Committee to Reimagine CTEX, which is not to be confused with us, the Committee to Reimagine the Blackout. And if you're wondering why so many people have oversight over CTEX, it's because, for many faculty members, they're incredibly important. Our journalist interviewed Professor Claudia Swan, a member of the Committee to Reimagine CTEX and the chair of the Educational Affairs Committee. Swan explained that for tenure-track professors, CTEX are just part of an evaluation process that also includes their original research and their service to the university. But for non-tenure faculty, or teaching line faculty, CTEX are everything. And if you don't believe us, take it from Professor Swan herself.
For teaching line faculty, they're everything.
Meaning, for the faculty at Northwestern whose only responsibility on campus is to teach, CTEX are an important factor that go into major decisions about their career. Opportunities such as salary boost, promotions, teaching awards, even the possibility of becoming a tenure-track professor are directly linked to CTEX. Yeah, that thing you filled out alone and sad literally changes the course of your professor's career. In our survey, more than half of students said they did not know that CTEX are considered in decisions of faculty pay and promotions. While students aren't blameless, it's hard to take these evaluations seriously if we don't know what they're even for. 90.9% of students said that they considered their peers to be their primary audience when filling out CTECs rather than professors. That's why CTECs look more like Lamaque Yelp reviews than constructive feedback. Wait, you guys, people are really upset about Lamaque's octopus. Nooper from Minneapolis gave our beloved Lamaque 1 star because the quote-unquote grilled octopus was absolutely uncooked and raw. It was so chewy that I couldn't just eat it, and I don't think that I like anymore. There's so many negative reviews about the octopus, which is funny because people seem to like every other aspect of Lamaque. Anyways, the weight given to CTECs in faculty evaluation is a huge structural flaw in the administration, and the majority of students aren't even aware of what their CTECs are being used for. And this wouldn't be a problem if CTECs were an informative and effective system. But much like the Halloween costumes of a Canadian Prime Minister, CTECs have a darker side to them. CTECs exist in part to inform teachers about their performance so they can improve their classes. So it might be a problem if they, didn't do that. According to some professors, CTECs are so personal or so hurtful that it puts them through intense emotional strain, which can make it hard to turn student feedback into productive change. A Weinberg professor we talked to even has his friends summarize his CTECs instead of reading them himself, because the mean comments are just so painful. Professor Swan also told us that
CTECs make me unbelievably anxious, like really anxious. It's like looking at the results of blood tests or something. And usually I just feel like I've been punched in the gut.
That's terrible. Reading through CTECs shouldn't make you feel like you just ate Lamoctopus. CTECs aren't supposed to be a punishment, they're an assessment tool. They're supposed to help professors get better, not make them anxious. You might be wondering, isn't there a process by which offensive or derogatory comments get screened out of CTECs? Well, there's good news and bad news. The good news is explicit and offensive comments are filtered before CTECs are made public to students. The bad news is that, according to the CTEC office, teachers themselves are responsible for filtering out inappropriate CTECs about their own classes. That's just cruel. That's like making the Northwestern football team watch its own game film. It clearly doesn't help them improve, and it just makes them feel bad. But don't worry, it gets worse. Another important thing to consider is that teacher evaluations can be affected by biases, whether students are aware of them or not. Legally, gender should have absolutely no impact on professor salaries or promotions. But then again, legally, no one should be doing cocaine off their wild card in the tech bathroom before their econ exam because they ran out of Adderall. But this isn't a perfect world. In reality, students show implicit bias in their evaluations en masse, which in turn can have a disproportionately negative effect on the careers of female professors. Implicit bias in teacher evaluations is by no means a problem exclusive to Northwestern, unlike getting frostbite while waiting for a frostbite shuttle. Ben Schmidt, a professor at NYU, concluded in a study that the language used on the teacher rating site Rate My Professor is clearly split by gender, with words like intelligent and brilliant more likely to be used to describe male professors, and words like caring and kind more likely to describe female professors. To be fair, female professors could be brilliant if they just smiled more. And again, remember, for non-tenure track professors, evaluations like these are a major factor in determining promotions and salary at Northwestern. In an interview, Professor Miriam Petty pointed out that gender-biased comments found in published CTECs don't have anything to do with the quality of teaching, and that students, quote, feel women's bodies are accessible in their reviews. The fact that students are commenting on the attractiveness of professors at all is completely counterproductive to the purpose of CTECs. You can't talk about a teacher's attractiveness in a CTEC. It's an important review system, not Tinder. That being said, I did meet my current boyfriend on CTECs. I know, it sounds sketch, but he's a great ethics professor. So, again, female professors are more likely to face systematic negative biases in their CTECs. Meanwhile, some faculty members don't seem to face those biases at all. A female professor we interviewed told us that she believes a dean at Northwestern doesn't read his CTECs because he's, and I'm quoting here, a tall guy with an English accent. I'm sure his CTECs are really, really good. Even within our faculty, there is an understanding that male professors are more likely to be taken seriously by their students. So, how do we make a broken system better? Well, Claudia Swan, who again is on the committee to reimagine CTECs, and Northwestern's Associated Student Government, ASG, both have a few ideas. Swan is an advocate for abolishing CTEC and replacing it with a more personalized system that she thinks could actually improve teaching. For instance, what if professors could customize their review questions to their specific classes? That way, students in organic chemistry won't be reviewing their classes based on the exact same criteria as the students in Intro to Drawing. We all know the only question engineers and art students should both be asked is, why can't you hold a normal conversation? Another idea is to have professors perform mandatory evaluations of each other's classes and provide peer reviews, which would mean that teachers could get feedback from people whose perception of the class isn't tainted by their recent breakups, star sign, or their deeply embedded preference towards a patriarchal white ethno-state. Alternatively, the university could allow students to see grade distributions for classes before they sign up for them. The university could also implement mid-quarter CTEC so students could have input while they're still in these classes. Or they could allow students who drop classes to write CTEC about why they dropped those classes. To put this more clearly, these ideas are like having the Wiggles perform at Dillo Day. It's a brilliant idea, but no one's freaking listening to me. Dillo needs the Wiggles. Except for you, Purple Wiggle. We all know you lip sync to fruit salad. You're a fucking coward, Lachlan. ASD recently passed resolutions endorsing a lot of these reforms, but ASD passing resolutions is like your Uncle Ricky passing kidney stones. It's an incredibly painful process. It seems to happen all the time, and no one wants to hear about it. CTECs have problems, a lot of problems, and while they've tried, the administration up until this point has failed to address these issues adequately. In case you weren't taking what I was saying seriously, because, I'm just kind and caring, let's give you someone who you will listen to. The Deep End presents An Attractive British Man Gives You the Gist.
Hi, Victoria. That was lovely. So cute that you're doing this, kind, caring. I didn't learn anything, but I liked watching. Let me quickly summarize the main points that the Deep End has laid out here. CTECs are a flawed system that don't account for student biases. CTECs force teachers to read aggressively mean reviews from students that can be hurtful and counterproductive. These reviews are one of the primary functions for determining tenure, promotions, and salaries. All the while, the chair of the Educational Affairs Committee has openly advocated for abolishing and replacing CTECs, but yet the university's Committee to Reimagine CTECs has failed to pass meaningful reforms like peer reviews, reviews personalized to classes, mid-quarter reviews displaying grade curves, or preventing teachers from reading inappropriate comments directed at them. CTECs can be rude, sexist, and really not all that useful. Just like me.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Actually, I could have, but you probably wouldn't have cared. Thank you, Attractive Britishman, and thank you everyone for watching. In the meantime, thanks for diving in with us. I'm Victoria Benefield, and this has been The Deep End.
CTEC, dummy, dummy. CTEC, dummy, 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 CTEC. Let's look at CTEC today. They determine teachers' pay. No one knows what they're about. So here's how to fill one out. The first step, open a CTEC. The second step, fill out a CTEC. The third step, don't be a dickwad.